Hey guys, how's it going? Kevin Cleary here with a knife video for you. And today I want to talk about something that to me is, as a reviewer is kind of interesting. And I know to you as buyers, as collectors, is something that you think about as well. And that is this. We want, at least I want, knives that are interesting and kind of special and, maybe different than what everybody else is carrying. But the problem with that is you often end up spending ridiculous amounts of money to get into something that, is a little outside of just your standard, next wave of Civivis that's going to come out in the next 6 months. All right. So today I want to talk about some knives and some knife companies that you might look at that will, not be crazy expensive, and some of them will be a little bit expensive, okay, but will scratch that itch for having something that not many people are going to have. All right, so let's go ahead, and some of these I'll talk about specific designers, specific knives, specific companies, but others will be sort of categories where you can find a knife that fits a particular category, and that will sort of do the same type of thing, that'll fit in that same niche. All right, let's get started with the knife that's right in the middle of your screen right now. Let's move this stuff out of the way. This is the American Bladeworks flipper. I think they used to be called the Sniper, but now just go to American Bladeworks and they'll have a bunch of different knives. They'll all be the same knife, but they'll have different. There's titanium. There's this one happens to be micarta, of course. There's G10. There's a bunch of different options available in these, and they're exceptionally well done. The materials are nice. They're comfortable in hand. The action is great. This does everything that you want a really good EDC folder to do. Plus, they're not widely available, right? You're talking about small batch production. Normally, and here's the other thing about this. Normally when we think small batch production, we're talking about CRK, Hinderer, certain Riots, a few, but we're looking at hundreds of dollars, right? 4 or 5, whatever. These are like $200, like $190, I think, which is really good for what you're getting. So I've got to give a ton of credit for here. American Bladeworks really offers something that's special, that has a lot of pride of ownership, that is well balanced. Like just about anybody who's interested in knives, I think will enjoy this. And yet you're not breaking the bank to pick one of these up. And again, if somebody's got a pair of 2 or a shaman or something like that in their pocket, and you pull this out and go, yeah, this is what I'm carrying, they're definitely going to be like, hey, that is a cool knife. You yourself can feel a lot of pride of ownership in this. And now I will say, most of the knives, by the way, on the table, you might have to wait a little bit or do a little bit of work to get your hands on one. But that's kind of part of the charm, in that they're just a little tougher to get. They're not crazy. Okay, I've purposely avoided stuff that you just can't get at all. They're not going to be crazy impossible to get, and they're not going to be crazy expensive, but they're still going to have a level of uniqueness, of individuality, and be a little bit compelling. All right, the next on the list is both a particular maker. So we have this Warlock from VL Knives, and Vince does a fantastic job. This is really, really well put together. He's got this knife, and there's a smaller one. The name of it is just evading me right now. But this is both an example. So if you can get your hands on a VL Knives Warlock, you've got a great knife. There's a bunch of he's got different steels available, different handles available. Again, you've got to follow his Instagram to see when something comes up, because he's just making these, as he has time. Okay, so it's not that, Vince is not that I know of a full-time knife maker. So he's doing these. He's doing a really nice job, but you've got to sort of be willing to watch and wait until one comes up. All right, but this is a great example of a category as well. Now, I can personally recommend Vince's knives. Others you're going to have to do your research on, but there are other small makers that are making really cool stuff, even folders that are going to be very well put together using high-end materials, but aren't going to and it'd be very unique, okay, but aren't going to cost thousands of dollars. If you decide to buy a custom knife, you can drop, you're pretty much at least 1,000 US and up. Well, here's an example of a custom knife that's a few $100, right? Now I know that's more than you pay for a line steel fixed blade or something like that, and I still think line steel is a great value and does a great job, but it's not a full handmade custom. And so here you're getting something that's unique and special and interesting. Another example of this, so I'm going to kind of go back and forth. So this is VL Knives on Instagram. Give them a follow, check it out. And you may have other small custom makers that you would recommend. Feel free to mention them down in the comments. All right, next company is not a custom knife maker. This is a pretty standard production company at this point. This particular knife is the Damn Designs Yokai, but they have a bunch of different knives. If you go on their website, it's actually kind of a cool thing. Now, one, they may have a lot of stuff out of stock. They're still fairly small runs, or at least they have been. So I can't promise you that any single particular model that you want is definitely going to be there. But they do have this cool feature on the website where you can pick a model, you can pick the handle material, you can pick the color. Like let's say it's G10. I think you can go like black or natural, maybe one or two other colors. Or you can go titanium. Then you can pick the blade material as well. So I think most of the time you get the option of 14C28 or S35VN. But that customizability is really, really cool. And the one thing I will say about Damn Designs is their knives are all fairly similar. Now I happen to like this particular design, so I wouldn't mind buying a couple of different models, and I probably will. You'll probably see some on the channel in the next couple months or so. But very, very compelling. And again, if you're meeting up with your buddies, or you're putting something on Instagram and you're thinking, I don't want to post another pair of two, right? I don't want to. Everyone's got a Spyderco, everyone's got a Cold Steel. Not everyone has something from Damn Designs. They're not crazy expensive at all. I mean, they're actually quite affordable. I think with the titanium, this is like $120, but if you go with the G10 version, it's like $60, $80. Very, very affordable, and yet still unique, and not everyone is going to have one. Let me throw Spyderco in here. This is my Spyderco Swayback. There are a few knives from Spyderco that are kind of like this, where you can tell even by looking at it that it's not going to appeal to every single first person on the face of planet Earth. And so because of that, there's probably going to be a limited number of runs. All right, I think Spyderco has done 2 runs of these, maybe 3. But this is not a model that I expect to stick around forever. And so, yeah, there might be a few more out there, and you might see a few people with them in the initial sort of rush to get the newest Spyderco. But over time, these are going to be more unique, and having one in your collection is going to be more and more special. So, this is just a way of buying a production knife that ends up turning out kind of unique later on. Next one I want to talk about, I'm going to leave this on here because I'm going to roll in a couple of pictures. But Stang Bladeworks is doing a really, really good job. Now these are mostly, I'm going to talk about some small makers. They're mostly Canadian companies, guys. Sorry, that's just where I pay a little more attention, being Canadian myself. But Stang Bladeworks is doing a great job. His Pyrenees is phenomenal. And now that's a folder, and it is a little more on the expensive side. I think they're around $750. I want to say $750 US, but it could be $750 Canadian. Anyway, they're still like $1,000. They're still going to be under $1,000, and for what you're getting, that's a really good value, and that's a really, especially outside of Canada, we've sort of caught on, and so there are a few Canadians that have these knives, and some Americans as well, but not as many. So, especially if you're living in the U.S. and you pick up a knife from Stang Bladeworks, man, you're going to have something very unique. Now, in addition, let's say you're going, Kevin, that's way out of my price range. You said affordable. Well, guess what? Derek has the Boardwalk as well, which is a fixed blade that's still really cool, very EDCable, really different, really interesting. And again, I think they run around $300, so much more accessible than one of his folders. All right, the other guy I want to mention, since we're talking about Canadian makers a little bit, is Morgan Cohen. So this is a Cohen's design. He collaborated with Concept on putting this together. He also has the Best Tech Togata, and there's another Best Tech that I've had. I've reviewed it on the channel. I just can't think of the name right now. But Morgan does these really cool collaborations, and they're very, very good. But also, he's a custom maker. He's got some great custom fixed blades. And I definitely, he's got a couple of sort of bushcraft smaller knives that a couple of them are very, very compelling to me, and I kind of watch his Instagram and hope to get my hands on one. And again, they're not outrageously expensive. I think between $300 and $400 maybe, or maybe between $200 and $300. Let's say $300 to $400, which is not cheap, but still is fairly reasonable for a fully handmade custom knife. So that's another example of a maker where, and fixed blades, guys making fixed blades, they tend to be a little more budget friendly because there's less equipment required and therefore less overhead. Okay, so Morgan Cohen's is another good example. And I know, by the way, that there are lots of US examples that we could point to as well. All right, NorthArm Skaha, that's the next knife on the list. NorthArm Knives is another, you guys will recall, Nick Shabazz had a Skaha on the channel and everyone went crazy, and their waiting list is still kind of long, but it's still a pretty unique and pretty special knife that you can own that not everyone is going to have, and it's going to be a little bit different and a little bit special because they are doing, it's a little more hands-on, the kind of stuff that they're doing. Lastly, and these are more production, and this has kind of gone away, but I'm hoping someone will reinvigorate this this model. All right, a few years ago, like 2015, 2016 type of thing, you could get knives from Massdrop. Even up until 2019, I guess, when I went to Blade Show, I stopped at the Massdrop booth. They had some really cool stuff going on. Those knives now are pretty unique, and so if you can get one on the secondary market, that's very, very good. The Massdrop Keen is probably my favorite of all of those. There was also a Ferrum Forge ProTech collaboration. Now that, come on guys, someone fill me in down in the comments, but I'll throw some pictures in here so you kind of see what I'm talking about. But some of these Massdrop knives, if you can get one on the secondary market, again, they were only available in a limited run. They're still quite affordable. Like, they haven't gained value or anything, but that's not the point of this. These are knives that are affordable, and they're very, very much affordable. So that's another recommendation where, it's something that, available in a small run, and then they're not going to be around again. Sharp by Design does this with Brian does this with Riot. He does a bunch of different knives, and I've had a few of them. They're always phenomenal. And Brian has been using this model for a long time. He did a Typhoon, mini Typhoon that was more of a mid-tech a few years ago, and I had one of those, and again, it was, it kind of fit right into this line. It wasn't crazy expensive, but it was not a knife that everybody's going to have. So there you go, guys. Those are my thoughts. And I'm not, I know I'm missing a lot of companies. I know there's a million small makers doing really good stuff, and so, if you have some of those recommendations, put them down in the comments. If there's an egregious, I've really missed someone by a mile that I should have included, mention them down below. I would add Space Monkey Knives to the list, except there, he's pretty sought after, and, he gained popularity really quickly, well-deserved popularity. And so he's almost, you're almost kind of into the full, you're dropping quite a bit of dough to pick up one of his knives these days. But again, they're still a really, really great option, and not as bad as a lot of custom makers will be. All right, thanks a lot, guys. Again, put your contributions down below. Don't forget to check out the channel sponsor, White Mountain Knives. That does help the channel. It helps you as well because you get to save 10% off your order. All right, thanks a lot. We will talk to you soon.